Hello, this is Chuck Trice, and welcome to the broadcast. Today, we're going to talk about my favorite subject, and that's buying and selling and trading property. I'm going to share with you today some properties that I have that the owners they will trade, and they will take cash, and they will sell, and they will finance. And so this is kind of an interesting subject because there are about 300 ways or more that you can buy, sell, and trade real estate. And it's just a very fun process. In fact, let me show you a book that I have that gives that. And it's put out by Bob Steele. And I think you might be able to see that. Steele's 300 Strategies, 1 to 300 Ways to Buy, Sell, and Trade Real Estate. So that's a good book for you to have. And also, if you would like to have another book that I've got, and that has to do with trading and exchanging, and it's called A Guide to 1031 Exchanges. And that book is also available, and I can send it to you in digital form. So those two good books to have, and you can reference those. And the Steele's 300 book, there's many formulas. And they're formulas because they've worked more than one time and people use them all over the country. A formula would be something like, I'll take your house and your cash if you'll take my land. So land equals house plus cash. And so those are very simple formulas that's very easy to use. I think that trading, exchanging, and using your equity to buy and sell property is not a new concept. It's just very hard to train people to think in those terms. Because when you think about buying and selling property, you think about just that, buying and selling. Hardly ever do we think about using other assets, using other equities. Other assets could be rent houses, could be the equity in your house, could be the equity in a building that you own. An asset could be a promissory note. Let's say you sold a piece of property and you're carrying back the financing. That's an asset that can be traded and bought and sold and discounted and used almost like cash to be able to go and buy property. How about creating a promissory note that's secured by other property you own? And so when you think about buying and selling, a car dealer, you'll think about trading your car because that's an asset that you have equity in. But we don't think about that when we come to real estate, and that's just a normal way that we tend to do business today. We don't think too much about those things. And I think that, in fact, I know for a fact that if you ask people about the other assets that they own, you'll be surprised and amazed at the property or the ways that people can do business and generate a trade or a sale that they have. And they don't think about that, and the broker needs to be able to think about those things. And in fact, I have a friend that has 5 acres in Delta, and they would use that property to buy other property. They would sell it, they would trade it, they would finance it, they would take cash, they would take a credit card. Think about the ways that you can buy and sell and trade real estate. And everything that you've got just about has assets. The fellow that wrote that book, Bob Steele, he once traded futures for a $2 million building. And the futures were in the form of future tomato crops in California. So he traded 5 years worth of tomatoes that was worth about $400,000 a year for a building. And the building was $2 million. And so when you buy, sell, and trade using other assets, you just have to balance the equities, and it's not that hard of a deal to do. Let's say that you have a $200,000 house and you owe 100,000 on it. That means you got 100,000 in equity that you can go use to buy something else. And when you buy something else, of course, you've got to move that 100,000 or pay it off that you owe the lender. And there's ways to do that to get that property so you can trade it free and clear. And that's the way property is traded free and clear. So this is a place to buy, sell, and trade real estate. In fact, if you would like to be on this broadcast, I can set it up so that we can showcase your customer, your client, or your customer or your client's properties, and we can see if we could generate interest and get people interested in what you have to sell. I think to buy, sell, and trade, if you're hunting more than your personal residence, it's a really good idea to be able to think about trading other assets and creating other assets you can trade. And I mean creating promissory notes. Let's say that you have a promissory note that's paying you $2,300 a month, and that's an asset and that's income, and you could trade that income for something else. I've got a friend here in town that has a 20-year lease, and now this is a real deal. And so if you've got something, you bring it to me or give me a phone call. And he would like to trade that a portion of that cash flow of $2,300 a month for 40, 50, or 100 acres so he can raise cattle. And so that is a real good way to do it. And when it's paid off, the land is paid off, then the lease reverts back to the owner of the building. So, and I call this common sense investing. I mean, we deal with cash flows, we deal with rates of return, we deal with cap rates, and I deal with a return on your investment. I deal with the internal rate of return and the yield on your money. And so we do all of that, and we try our best to think out of the box and help people buy, sell, and trade their real estate. If you think about it, a lot of people own property that they intended to use or they intended to live in. A lot of rent houses in this area, and the people live in other parts of the country. Now, that rent house is an asset that can be traded and bought and sold and financed and about anything that you want to do with it. So when you've got extra assets like this, think about, instead of just selling it or leasing it, think about what you could do with that piece of property. You could create a note against it to go buy something else. You could let the payments go to pay for something else. You could trade it for a bigger and better house. You could use it as a down payment on a piece of land or another house. So there's hundreds of ways that you can move this property besides going to the lender and getting a loan. And today in our market, that is the primary way people do business. Is if you're going to buy something, you go to the lender, you get qualified, and you close on a loan. And the lender is in the money renting business. And so what they do is they will rent you the property and you become a partner with the lender. The lender has 97% invested in the property, or maybe 70 or 80%, and they're your partner. And the lender is seeking a return on his money, which is a yield, and you are seeking equity. And the equity you have in the property is the down payment. And of course, you hope the property goes up in value and you'll have more equity. And that equity will allow you to buy something else. But if you turn your thinking just a little bit and think about, how can I make this work and buy something bigger and better and something that will suit my needs more? So that's what we do. It's just common sense investing. And I want to tell you about a building that I've got now. And this house is on Davewood Road. Well, let me back up, and I'm going to put this up on the screen. And I'm going to solo this. And this is a fella that has no cash, and it's hard to get a loan, but he's got land for a down payment. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you had land as a down payment and you had that thing free and clear? Let's say you inherited it and you wanted to use that asset to go buy something else or to make a down payment on something else. That land, let's say it's worth $100,000. You could take that land and trade it for another asset. In fact, my friend here in town wants to do just the opposite. He wants to trade the cash flow coming off of a building that's leased for 20 years, and he will trade that cash flow for that piece of land. And that cash flow pays every single month, and that land's going to get paid off. At the end of the term, the money that's coming off that cash flow each month will go back to the original owner. And so that is a good way to do business. So I'm going to drop that guy back off of there. And this is the house that I have that's on 10 acres. That's a pretty nice house. It's rusty metal. It's on 10 acres. It's on Davewood Road. The price is $239,000. And here's the interesting thing is the owner would love to trade this for 400 or 500 acres of land down in West Texas. So, I mean, if you've got relatives or people that you know that, excuse me, that have land in West Texas, well, let me know, because this house is for sale or trade, and they would love to take your land in West Texas. 400 or 500 acres, they want to take that land. And let's see if I can get this up where I don't have the three people on the screen. And let me do that, and there's that. So, $239,000, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 859 square foot on 10 acres, rusty metal, very nice, 14-foot ceilings, granite countertops, propane stove and refrigerator, and a generator that sits out behind the shed. That's plenty big enough to handle all of your electrical needs in that property. It's also got a 1,100-gallon water tank for storage. And so this is a completely off-grid house, and the owner will trade that for pig hunting land down in Texas. So if you got something that's similar to that, something around Possum Kingdom or Graham or Fort Worth or Stephenville or something like that, then give me a call and I'll give you my phone number in here in just a little bit. And this house has conventional financing. You can get a conventional loan on it. You can pay cash for it. And the good thing about this is that's VA qualified. The builder's a VA builder, and we do have a lender that will loan VA on this house. So if you got a vet that wants to buy a house on 10 acres that's off grid, this would be the house to do it with. And I've got another house that I'm going to show you, and let's see. I'm going to try to share my desktop. And this next one won't be a house, but it will be a property that I will share with you. And let's see, let's go here. Now this is a house that I want to, building that's in Florence, Colorado. And this is a 22,000 square foot building. It's got 17 apartments in the top 2 floors. And you can see it's an older building. It's one of the largest buildings in downtown Florence, Colorado. It's in the process of being remodeled. The owner just bought all new windows for that building. and they're getting ready to install them. They just installed a $95,000 solar system on the roof. They've replaced the roofs on the back of the building, and so it looks really good. That's the back side of the building. There's the interior. It's got 17 apartments. They just replaced that skylight. And the asking price on this building is $1 million. And the owner will finance it. Or, here's the good thing about it again, this owner would take land for the down payment or for the total purchase price. He would take a building around Durango or someplace like that. He would take one or more houses. He would participate in financing. And so this owner is wide open. Take land and buildings in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and in Texas. And so that's what I'm doing, is just giving you a smattering of the possibilities that are out there. So a very nice building, needs a lot of work. It still does. They've spent about $1 million on it, and they've got 17 apartments that now they're starting to remodel. Got a restaurant downstairs and a barber shop and another little retail place, and they're ready to start fixing that building up. So let's see if I can find another one that I'm going to share with you. And let's see. Let's go over here. And I won't do that. But that's what I have. I've got that. I've got the house on 10 acres. I've got the building up there on Davewood Road. And I've also got 40 acres on Davewood Road that borders BLM land. And that 40 acres is at the end of a road, and there's not public access to the BLM, but this property borders that BLM, and this is $160,000. And it's free and clear, and the owner will trade that $160,000 for a lot in town they can build a duplex on, and they'll carry the balance, or they'll balance the equities. The owner would trade this for a building, they would trade it for a rent house, and they would also finance the property. So a lot of options there if somebody wanted to do that and buy that piece of property. So to me, this is a fun way to look at property and to buy, sell, and trade. In fact, when I go through the MLS system, I'm always looking for properties that will take other equities as part down payment. And what I mean by that, and we call that equity marketing, and what I mean by that is, let's say you will take this lot, this 40 acres for $160,000, and you've got a house that's worth $300,000, then we will give you some cash, we'll give you the 40 acres of land, and give you a promissory note for the balance. So that works real well. And you get cash, and you get a promissory note, and you get 40 acres of land bordering BLM. But do the same thing on the other properties of the building in Florence. The fella is very creative, and he will take your asset plus cash plus notes plus other equities. So think about the equities that you have in a piece of property. And we do deal with the debt. Most all of us have debt on our property, and we deal with that debt. And debt is something that we all have to deal with because the lender is our partner, and the lender loaned you the money so they could get a yield, and they want that money back. And so we do deal with the debt on the property, and there's several ways that we can do that. We can do it very effectively. So if you don't have all of the money that you need, think about using other assets. I think that's a very good way to do business. The house on 10 acres, and also I've got a commercial building in Uray, Colorado. It's just south of the pool, 920 Main Street, and it's a 3-unit commercial building. And we have 2 tenants in there, and those tenants are paying rent, and they rent on a yearly basis. And we're asking $495,000 for that building. And it's 3 units, 2 bathrooms, large patio, lots of cement. Excuse me, very well located, just a block from the pool. And the owner will trade that for a piece of land if you got 300 or 400 acres anywhere around Nucla or Natarita, or some of those places, or Texas, and will trade for that land. The owner will finance it, and the owner will take part equity in something else. And so we're open to offers and suggestions. And so if you would like to know about that, then give me a call and let me know. And so also, we buy promissory notes. If you've sold a piece of property and you are financing that piece of property for that owner, then think about selling that note, and we'll do it so that you can make money and my investors can meet their yield requirement. Kind of like a bank, they will buy your promissory note if it's a good, well-secured note. And also, I've got some investors that are hard money lenders. If you want to fix and flip a house or a building, or if you want to borrow money to remodel a building or fix a building up, well, I don't care what you use the money for. If you want to look at a hard money loan with interest rates at 10 to 12% with maybe a point or 2 points, then we'd look at loaning the money on hard money rates. And that would be a short-term loan for investment property only for 1, 2, or 3 years. And usually hard money is about 50% equity, unless it's just an excellent piece of property that's got excellent security. And so look at doing those hard money loans, and we can do that. We can finance, we can buy, sell, and trade your property. And we never turn down the cash. We will always look at cash or alternative financing. So I'm going to end this broadcast. This is Chuck Trice, and thanks for joining me. And if you have an interest in any of these properties, well, let me know, and let's see if I can share my desktop screen here. I'm going to put it on this, and I'm going to share this. And let's see. I'm going to go to the broadcast with that. And excuse me just 1 second. And I'm going to bring that down. Oh, I wanted to mention that I've got the National Council of Exchangers, and with that website, and it's called NCE Exchangers, NCE Exchangers, and that is a place that you can go. Let me show that right there, NCE Exchangers. And you can look at all kinds of property all over the United States that's for trade, exchange. You can buy it, you can sell it, and all those brokers are very creative. In fact, in about a week, I'll be going to Vegas for the National Council of Exchangers show, and we meet there. There's probably 100 of us, and we buy, sell, and trade real estate all over the United States. And you can get hold of me if you can read that on the screen, info@montrosecommercial.com. And let's see if I can share my desktop screen. And I want to see if I can show you that website. Oh, let's see. And I'll make this up full screen. And you can see that we get what we call this right here. It's a 1,632 acre irrigated farm, and it's $5 million. And they will take small owner carry. They'll take houses. They'll take hunting rights. They will take other land. They will take buildings. And so when you look at all of that, you see that you can get a lot of ideas from some of these websites. And this is nceexchangers.com. There it is, nceexchangers.com. So if you want to get a hold of me, if you want the book that I can send you in digital form, or you want to list your property or sell your property, you want to talk about exchanging, you want to talk about your potential tax liability and saving your tax, then give me a shout out at info@montrosecommercial.com. So this is Chuck Trice, and thanks for watching. And I'm going to post this on YouTube also.